We're seeing you here in this new hilarious movie, Izzy Lyon. He is a very iconic, he's the world's greatest sign spinner. Was this a movie that Mehran or Dan or Yana brought to you? Or I mean, how did this find its way to you?
Right? Um, Yana came to me, and I didn't know her, and she's so lovely and very funny. And she convinced me to do this picture, and I was more than happy to. And I don't know if they're letting us say this, but we shot it once, and it kind of didn't work out as well as it ought to. And we came back and shot it again, and it worked out really well. And Yana's been really nice to us. And I'm in a group that as you can see, I'm in San Francisco here, but actually I'm not. I'm in Colorado. Um, and she's come to see us play, and we've maintained a relationship over the years. So she's really nice. And I got a cohort of mine, Jeff Davis, who's in my group, my improv group, who's live anyway, to be in the picture as well. So it's kind of a family affair.
And how does Brian then interact? What does Brian do to push Izzy out of the spotlight?
Well, I'm an evil person in the movie, and I'm friends with many dictators, and I really enjoyed playing that because it's like in real life, of course, I'm a screaming liberal, and I'm a very sensitive artist, and I press flowers and I write poetry, but in performing, it's awesome to get to really reach down deep for your inner Mitch McConnell, and that's what I kind of tried to do. Uh, when you just really don't care about humanity and want to stomp someone's memory into the ground. And I think that's what happens, with Brian is a corporate weasel, and it has no love for Izzy or his memory, and tries to shunt and shut down everybody who is trying to promote Izzy. And I think that's the beautiful part of my character, that I'm just resolutely horrible.
Then there's obviously nothing you found particularly challenging then about this role, other than the fact he's a complete 180 than you, and you had to harness maybe Satan's ball sack to
Right.
portray this character. So
By the way, Harnessing Satan's Ballsack is a really good name for an album, in case you're thinking of cutting
I'm letting you
one.
trade. I'll let you trademark it and go forth from here. I
Okay.
have no musical talents, I promise you.
It's probably a website with the wording.
I mean, it's Mitch McConnell's probably trademarked it already, so I can't
Oh my goodness. Heaven knows. Heaven knows the cosplay he's getting up to.
Anyway,
He's from Kentucky, so I'm guessing he dresses like a pony or something.
I mean, maybe that was his Halloween costume, but
Uh, well,
you
Elaine rides him, I'm guessing. We're getting off track here.
we're seeing you with these incredibly hilarious co-stars. Were you familiar? I mean, you had to be some familiar with the wonderfully hilarious people you star here with in this.
Well, yeah, I was really chuffed. Like I said, I was able to bring Jeff in, who I work with way too much and see way too much, to the point where I'm annoyed by him almost all the time. And but also David
David,
Keckner,
Phil.
Phil Lamar, and had a little part in it, and I love them. They're really, I've known, we're veterans, as they say in show business.
Yes.
No one's they're old, because of course I've been on his started on his line when I was 9 years old, so you can see where the time works out. Um, I've known these cats for a long time. They're awesome to work with. They're very funny. They never are at a loss for an idea. There's always something creative. And Dan, who I believe was the director, he was there often, yes, behind the camera. Gave us an awful lot of leeway. So it wasn't like being in the army. It was like being in the improv Marines.
I was going to ask you, was there room to try out, or did they ask you to stick to the script and then sort of punch it up a little bit with what you felt that you could add to the scene?
Well, I mean, when you have people who can improvise, they did the right thing. We had a script. We learned our lines. We know because we had to keep the plot moving and make the sense of it. Structure never hurts improv, to be honest. A little structure never hurts. And then we were given a terrible latitude to improvise as well. And we shot enough so that we shot things we were improvising and things that were to the letter. So I think they had a choice of what they could use. And I think that made it really fun.
Was there anyone who sort of broke during a take more than anyone else?
Well, Jeff and I did a scene where we were getting very drunk together, and it was hard to hold it together during that. As I recall, it took several minutes. Well, it took a lot of takes. We weren't actually drinking booze. We were drinking the horrible colored water that they make you drink uh, when you're pretending to drink on screen. By the way, I did a Flight of the Conchords years ago, and there was a cocaine scene in the movie that in the show that they cut out, and we didn't use real cocaine, obviously, and we used C&H powdered sugar. And if you've ever snorted powdered sugar more than once or twice, it's horrible,
I thought they used to do powdered milk.
right?
Even that's bad.
But not on this set. It was powdered 2 seconds. Your nose was completely, yeah. I was like, I'm dying here. I'm dying of powdered sugar. I mean, can't we get some Coke because it's less harmful? You know what I mean? But no, we drank brown water, and fortunately, Jeff and I had a lot of experience drinking together, so it came kind of natural.
Movie, I feel like is it's gonna be one for the ages. It's gonna be one of those little indie movies that you watch when you need such a good laugh. Is that what you felt when you were filming it or when you started, or is that what you think is gonna make it a fan favorite? It's gonna be one of those little indie movies that people are just gonna love because it's so funny, but so odd at the same time.
Yes, I think you're right. I think it's an unusual indie movie, and that's why it was fun to be a part of it. Um, so many mainstream comedies get made that basically are the same thing over and over again, and there are a lot of dopey jokes, and that the kind of rom-commy thing that's I think a little trite, and this one certainly doesn't plow any of that ground. We're all over the yard with this, so I think it's really interesting and fun, and that's what makes it a groovy thing to be part of.
My goodness. There's so
Yeah.
many moments in the movie where it was hard for me to keep it together and not laugh, cry, that I really think that all of it is going to make it just a tremendously iconic indie movie. Like Drop Dead Gorgeous is for me that little indie movie that I watch when I need to laugh because it's so absurdly
Right.
funny. I really think that's what people are going to take away from Izzy Lyon going forward
That's
with
really
this
nice
one.
of you, Jamie.
Of course, I think
I
that
hope you're right. I think it is. I mean, I think that's what we're all pulling for, is that it is exactly that, the little indie movie that you watch when you need to laugh.
I really think that's what people are going to start reaching out. There's going to be little I know you're on social media, so you must have those moments where people reach out to you about maybe little projects that you've been a part of, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's one that you're reaching out about. I mean, that must make you feel good that these are little things that people find happiness in, and bring it to your attention that you thought maybe no one would ever would ever see at some point, especially early on in your career, I'm sure.
Well, we're later on in the career, and I've been in a couple, three indie movies. In the last year, there's one I'm in where I'm a voiceover that's out now. That's like a thriller, and then I did another thriller where I played like a social worker a couple of years ago, and it's just great fun working with a small group and people who really love the project. You know what I mean? it's a whole different bag than being on like network TV. Not that network TV we don't love the project, we do. There's just a different atmosphere, and I think that's what makes it for me. And I'm going to go back in time to use a word that no one uses anymore. So bitchin'.
It's very bitchin'. And I'm excited that I see you do get very political when it comes to the election and voting and things like that on your social media. Why is that such an important place for you to get people involved? Maybe not so much anymore now that Elon Musk has taken over the platform of Twitter, but why is that an important place for you to express your voice?
Well, I feel like Nina Simone, the great singer, said an artist has to reflect their times, and I'm a very big fan of, say, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Lily Tomlin, Samantha Bee. I really feel like you need to talk about what's going on. Now, we just went through a giant plague and the biggest social reckoning in second since the '60s, and a lot of people are in denial about it, and a lot of comedians really don't care about comedy, and they think they're going to have a big career. Well, you're not going to have a big career if we're run by Nazis, and that's where I think that I have to draw the line. Um, if we let the Nazis take over completely, like they had for 4 years, things don't get better. You may have noticed while 45 was president, the economy tanked, and we had a giant plague that killed everyone. And that's what you're going to get if you let Nazis take over. They don't have any sense of propriety, and they don't have any sense of stewardship, and they have nothing good planned for you, just white supremacy and hatred, and being misogynist and being racist. And so that's why I feel so strong about it. And also, I'm from California, and look at our team. We've got Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi and Gavin Newsom and Adam Schiff and Ted Lieu and Maxine Waters and Barbara Lee and Karen Bass. I mean, the Democrats are an all-star team, and the Republicans have Matt Gaetz and Gozar and Brooks and Babert and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they're really scraping the barrel for these sort of TikTok, and I think that's the big difference.
What would you like to say to everyone who are fans and supporters of the work that you do and the incredible comedy that you continue to put out year after year? And after all this time, you still make people laugh so much. It must mean so much to you.
Well, it does, Jamie. It means the world to me. It's all I ever wanted to do was tell jokes and be funny. And I've got a podcast called The Smartest Man in the World that I do with my wife, Jennifer. I have a film club that curates, and we do in Los Angeles. What do we have coming up? Sleuth. Last month we showed Lost Boys, the original. And I have a new album in the city that I made, that I improvised in San Francisco. I'm coming out. I'm going to make another album in San Francisco at New Year's. I'm going to London to Nightmare Before Christmas with Danny Elfman and a full orchestra at Wembley Arena in December for a couple nights. And then we're going to go to Paris and do the podcast at Shakespeare and Company in Paris. And of course, the boys and I are on the road doing Who's Live. We're Midwest next week. We're in Colorado this weekend. Then the Midwest next week, then Hawaii, and then Vegas. And then, so I really try to keep busy and do all this. I'm going to make a new album at the end of the year. I think it's important to have new material for everybody all the time and to keep people engaged. And I want to be, relevant to what's going on, which is why I think politics is a good way to stay relevant. I really don't want to be one of those old white guys who's like, things were better in my day, and why do women have to talk, and how come people are woke and all that nonsense. I want to be one of the hipper people who, the problem with comedy in my lifetime was we never let anybody but white guys do it, all through the '70s and '80s. And when I say nobody, I mean a few people. Of course, I don't mean nobody. But now, of course, the playing field is much bigger, and there's beautiful trans comedians, gay comedians, comics from every country, different points of view, and it's only made it better. It's the thing about comedy. If everyone has a voice, then comedy is richer for it. Having a bunch of white guys sit in a room smoking weed and talking about how the world's not what they want it to be is not where I'm at.